Hi PT, my name is Omar Al-Rakabi and I serve as the campus minister and executive director of the Wesley Foundation at the University of Arkansas campus here in Fayetteville. I grew up in Dallas. I went to Texas A&M University, whoop, but I've been here for 4 years at the University of Arkansas, whoop pig. I'm married to my beautiful wife Jennifer, and we have 2 wonderful daughters, my 2.5-year-old Sadie, and this is my 8-month-old Nora May. So when Sam called me up and asked me to talk to you about connection and this idea of connecting, she told me I wouldn't actually be talking to you live, I'd be doing it via YouTube. And I thought, okay, that's cool. But it got me thinking a little bit about how old I actually have become. I am now old enough to start using that phrase back in my day, when I was in college. For example, I use one of these now, but back when I was in college, this was my first Mac. Portable. I used to save all my papers and work on one of these, but now I can fit 2,000 of these on one of these guys. Crazy. When I was a freshman, I used to have to wait until after 9 o'clock when the long distance rate went down from 25 cents a minute to 10 cents a minute so I could make a quick call to my girlfriend back home. Now I have unlimited minutes on this thing. When I was 2 years old, I played with a plastic phone. For about the last 6 months, my daughter Sadie knows how to take my iPhone, slide it open, find the photo app, and start taking pictures on her own. I didn't show her how to do that. When my parents met 40 years ago, my dad wrote my mom's number down on a book of matches. He still has that book of matches in his desk drawer. When I met my wife 7 years ago, she texted me her number on my old phone. It doesn't even work anymore. My youngest one uses it as a throw toy. When I was in college, when I thought about connecting with a friend, this was really my only concern. Now there's the pressure of, are we Facebook friends? How many friends do I have on Facebook? Why don't I have more Twitter followers? Should I keep a blog? I texted her. Why didn't she text me back? But here's the thing. The way we connect has radically changed over the last few years. But the reasons we connect are still the same. We connect for relationships. We connect to belong. We connect for identity. We connect for purpose. We connect because we were made to be connected to each other and to our God. So what does that connection look like? When we're trying to make connections for family or friends or jobs or money, and most importantly, when we're trying to stay connected to God, what does that usually look like for us? Well, I'm going to take some old school technology and look at it. If we're honest with ourselves, it usually looks like this. Our goal is to keep God number one in our lives. Our top priority. Stay connected to Him. Maybe number 2 is family, and then friends, maybe school, job. So as our life changes and our connection evolves, maybe these things get moved around. Maybe school is no longer a priority here. Maybe job is moved up here. Maybe you didn't have a family and your friends were number 2, but now you're married or you're going to get married and that switches. And then there's always the battle of keeping God number 1. Maybe you get engaged and all of a sudden you realize this has taken the place of God, or now you work harder than you used to and maybe God has slipped, and we are always in this constant battle of saying, how do I get God back to number 1? How is that my top connection before all these other ones? What if this is like the exhaustive, wrong way to do it? What if there was a more secret way? What if instead of trying to keep God the number 1 priority or the top priority in our lives, what if we looked at it more like a wagon wheel, where we stayed centered in God here, and then every aspect of our lives was like spokes of a tire moving out. And so maybe this one is our family. This one is our friends, job, school, whichever. And as these different aspects and priorities of our lives change and rotate and move around, it is our centeredness in God where all of that flows from. In other words, we don't have to keep working to figure out which connection is our most important at this time in our lives and trying to keep God number one. Instead, we stay connected here. And whatever relationship or activity or job in our life happens to be moving among us at that time flows from that. Okay, well that's great. That takes the pressure off. But what does that really look like? Jesus speaks about what that looks like in the Gospel of Matthew. We're reading it here from the Message translation. It says, Jesus resumed talking to the people, but now tenderly. The Father has given me all these things to do and say. This is a unique Father-Son operation, coming out of the Father and Son intimacies and knowledge. No one knows the Son the way the Father does, nor the Father the way the Son does. But I'm not keeping it to myself. I'm ready to go over it line by line with anyone willing to listen. Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. In another place, Jesus says it like this: I only do what I see the Father doing. Jesus is talking about an intimate connection between the Father and the Son. A place where every part of his life, no matter what it is, flows from that connection. For me, having children, I've begun to see just a little bit about what this father-son intimate connection looks like. But for me, it's been a father-daughter connection. And here's just a little glimpse of what I'm talking about. For the last 2 years, my oldest daughter, Sadie, has sat in her car seat in the back seat of our truck, watching how her daddy drives the car. And then one day, she went outside and she said, Daddy, Sadie drive. Daddy, Sadie drive. And now she does this all the time. And we've caught it on video.
Why? I close that.
You see, I never read a book to her about how to drive a car. I never taught her or told her how to do it. She learned it by watching. She learned it by being with Daddy and watching that rhythm and seeing that practice to where she could do what she saw her Father doing. See, Jesus directly addresses this kind of connection in Matthew chapter 6. He says, when you pray, go away by yourself, shut the door behind you, and pray to your Father in private. Then your Father, who sees everything, will reward you. Go into your room and shut the door and be with the Father. See, in the Old Testament, God's presence was in a box, in a room, inside another room that was inside the temple. So if anybody was going to connect with God, they had to go into that room. And that place was called the Holy of Holies. It was the most holy place. But now here in Matthew's Gospel, Jesus is telling us that the holy place is somewhere else. I'm also beginning to see this through my daughters. My oldest Sadie and I, we have a routine. We have a rhythm that we follow every night. We get ready to go to bed and she'll gather up her blankie and she'll gather up her 4 or 5 particular stuffed animals and she'll come sit in my lap and she'll say, "Daddy, sing Going." And that's a song we sing. Then she says, "Daddy, sing Follow." And that's Follow the Yellow Brick Road. And then she says, "Daddy, sing Jesus Loves Me." And then she says, "Daddy, sing ABCs." And then she says, "Daddy, first Bible verse." Because we've been learning Bible verses. "Daddy, second Bible verse." "Daddy, third Bible verse." "Daddy, pray." And then we go through the Lord's Prayer. And that has been our rhythm. And that has been our practice for over a year now. And it has evolved from one song and a prayer to multiple songs and stories and Bible verses and prayers. And some days we sing some and some days we sing others. Some days we do it all. Some days we just do nothing. And so what I think Jesus is showing us here is that the most holy place where we connect with the Father and learn His rhythms, see how He does it, is in the secret place where we put aside all the other distractions and ways in which we connect, that we may center in with Him and be connected. So what am I trying to say here? That maybe the great ironic secret mystery to being connected is disconnecting and just being with the Father. Because the most holy place is that father-son or father-daughter intimacy with Him in the secret, quiet place. And so maybe it just looks like turning it all off and shutting the door for 5 minutes and just sitting in silence saying, "Jesus, I love you and you love me." Because remember, Sadie didn't learn how to drive the truck by just watching Daddy do it one time. When Sadie sings those songs back with me at night, she didn't learn them after the first time. It was a constant, repeated practice of being together. And so maybe that's it. Maybe that's the simplicity of it all. That in our quest to be connected, for all the reasons that we connect, that the secret is to be in the secret holy place, so that everything else in our lives flows out of being with Him. Well, I hope all those ramblings made sense to you. If you didn't, drop me a line at omar@uawesley.com and we'll try to connect. Oh, and by the way, go see Blue Like Jazz the movie. So long, PT. Peace.